Here's a question I received in the comment area on one of my YouTube videos. And the individual wanted to know what part of a garage you could attach a eyelet to, something where you could raise or something off the ground, lift heavy loads. And I don't recommend doing that. Most of the building parts on a building are designed specifically to carry a load, and they might be able to carry more of a load. Maybe it could lift 200 or 400 pounds, but I couldn't tell you that. And I would hate to have you, hey, I'm going to attach something to my garage header here or double up some of my ceiling joists and, lift my truck off the ground. I can't tell you that, what you would need for that. And wouldn't recommend it, but I can provide you with some information on what we did when we were kids, or at least when I was 16. I used to pull motors out of my car. We simply installed a 4x12 beam, and we put it on top of the rafter ties and attached it to the rafter ties so it wouldn't move. We didn't want it moving at all. And then we would simply put posts underneath the beam when we were lifting the engines out of our cars, and these posts could be removed. And we can just kind of zoom in here. You can use some hurricane ties to attach the beam to the rafter ties or the ceiling joist. And you can use just a piece of plywood, piece of scrap wood, and nail it to either the post or screw it to the post, screw it to the beam, and just have it to where you can take the screws out and then remove the post either way, whether it's attached to the beam permanently or the post permanently. And then you can simply unscrew these and remove the posts and get back to having your two-car garage. So I have the posts run down to the concrete. And if you need a little more safety, your posts maybe they're a little flimsy, they're moving. You can always brace them off somehow like this. And I did this every once in a while. I'd brace it off if I was concerned about the weight. But most of the time, the post and the beams, they didn't move. As long as the beam isn't going to move and you're working safely around the post. I mean, let's face it, if this post moves and you have a lot of weight on the beam, a little too much to where this is supporting a lot of the weight, and you're working around it and it moves, you could have a problem. So I'm kind of throwing this out there. You might want to brace it off. If you feel comfortable, don't worry about it. If the ceiling joist or garage ties are running in the opposite direction, you can simply put the beam in and just put a 2x4 across or 4x4, whatever you feel like. And I think I spaced these about 3 foot on center, but you don't need to. You can just have one at one end and one at the other end to where the beam isn't moving. We do not want the beam to move while you are lifting a heavy load. And like I said, we used to lift motors out with these, and a lot of times I was lifting engines that weren't completely assembled. They would have the heads off of them. I was just putting the block in, the oil pan, all that was attached, and I would put that in. So I'm guessing maybe 200-300 pounds tops. You might need to go with a larger beam. My dad had a 4x12 in there, and it did carry, we did lift out whole motors, complete motors every once in a while, but for the most part, the heads were off of them, not all the parts were on it. And this was sufficient. If you're going to be lifting, a tractor up, let's say, you might want a 6x16 in here. And, it might need to run across. You might need to double up some of the garage ties or rafter ties. You might need to make these a little stronger just to support the weight of the beam. So keep that in mind also. But I hope this gives you an idea here. Again, tie it to where the beam isn't moving. And you can always run these boards longer. These boards can always run all the way across to the other rafter ties or garage ties, ceiling joists, whatever you feel comfortable with. And then when you're done, get rid of the posts, leave the beam in the attic, and wait for the next time. It's already there. You put your posts in, and you're ready to go again. So anyway, I hope this video was helpful. If not, I hope it gives you some ideas Maybe you can get a little creative and come up with something different that works, and send me a link to the video or some pictures if you ever do anything like that. So anyway, it is off to the next video.